Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chod, and in this video I give you even more information about the latest status of the stimulus negotiations, new comments from White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, as well as some interesting moves that are being made by Republican senators like Ron Johnson. So let's dig right into that information. I'll also give you some important new data about unemployment benefits, and some people believe that the $600 a week unemployment booster, the expiration of it is having no impact on the economy. In other words, people are continuing to spend. And I'll give you 2 points of view about that, which is actually going to surprise you. So make sure you stick around for that part of the video. Let's jump right into what the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows said to Jake Sherman and others at Politico today. He said that both him and the president want to avoid a government shutdown. He said, there is a lot of blame to go around if there's going to be a government shutdown because, again, both sides simply want to blame each other. He said, if we can do a deal right now, a stimulus negotiation deal right now, we can have a resolution and we can stop talking about shutting down the government as a point of leverage, as a point of negotiation. He said that Senator Ron Johnson and a lot of Republican senators want to do that. He also said, we know how these negotiations go. Everybody looks for that leverage point, the next cliff, the next deadline to use to their political advantage. These are really interesting comments. These are open comments and open thoughts from the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. A lot of these things that go on behind the scenes are now essentially open for public consumption. He also said, and I quote, Pelosi is using this for her political advantage. She knows there are a number of people who need enhanced unemployment benefits, and she was unwilling to act. By the way, I'll provide you with a link in the description section below to the actual interview with the White House Chief of Staff so you can listen to Mark Meadows on your own. He said that there are a number of people who need enhanced unemployment and she was unwilling to act. She knows there are small businesses where we can agree on a PPP loan, that's a Paycheck Protection Program deal, to help small businesses, and she failed to act. He said there's over $105 billion for schools, and I quote, she somehow brings people in for a postal bill on a Saturday that is a largely messaging bill. That's what the White House Chief of Staff said. He said it's been a problem for a long time. He's referring to the post office. And he says she suddenly comes in and she makes it her top priority. So, gosh, you can expect a strong response. You can expect House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to fire back to Mark Meadows at some point today or tomorrow because, gosh, these are some pretty interesting comments. And how can we have a negotiation when both sides have this position? There has, someone has to seek a compromise and something has to give for the two sides to come together, because at this point in time, each side is basically taking shots at each other. So he said that this was a largely messaging bill. He's talking about the post office bill that the House voted on last weekend. And he said it's been a problem for a long time, the post office. She just made it a priority. He said it's hard to sell that back home on Main Street. Basically, what he's saying is it's hard for Speaker Pelosi to make a case for her position on Main Street. And he said it's hard to sell even with her most loyal colleagues that supported her as Speaker. So what the White House Chief of Staff is doing, and by the way, he did mention that he spoke with several top House Democrats. What he's trying to do is try and highlight the division from his point of view within the Democratic Party about Speaker Pelosi's firm position, about her red line, if you will, of wanting $2.4 trillion, wanting all that money for state and local, wanting all that money for kids and education. So this is raising the stakes, if you will, some of the recent comments from White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. He said it's hard for her to even sell that with her most loyal colleagues that support her as a speaker. They don't understand it. I don't understand it. And he ended by saying, it's time we reach a compromise, and hopefully we will. So those were some very interesting comments from the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows. And now I'm actually going to show you on your screen, you'll see a tweet from Erica Werner from the Washington Post. And she reported that Senator Ron Johnson tells me, that's Erica Werner, that he's optimistic about getting 51 Republican senators on board with a targeted pandemic relief bill that they could be called back to vote on before Labor Day. Now, we're talking about Republican senators in the Senate voting on this. And keep in mind that the Republican senators have been talking about a skinny bill for a while. And, initially they used the word skinny, but I guess now they want to use the word targeted, because I guess that sounds a lot more politically correct. And this targeted bill will include unemployment benefits extension at $300, more paycheck protection program money, more money for education, and definitely liability protection for businesses, which is a very high priority, as we can see, for the Republicans. Now, I just want to be clear that the Democrats are unlikely to support something like this. And I don't really see the purpose of working on something that the other side is not going to support, just like the Democrats did the post office vote last weekend, which the Republicans basically said they weren't going to support. So these are largely messaging and symbolic actions from both sides. But again, Democrats are unlikely to support this, and we'll have to see what happens in the coming days. But basically, this seems like another bill, again, that's being called targeted instead of skinny, and it's likely, very likely, to be dead on arrival because the Democrats are unlikely to support it. And, the Democrats want a lot of funding for state and local governments, which clearly the Republicans do not want to provide. The Democrats keep going back to the HEROES Act that they passed in May and keep referring back to it as a benchmark for negotiations. And as far as they're concerned, they dropped their ask down by $1 trillion, down from 3.4 trillion to $2.4 trillion. In other news, you'll see a tweet on your screen from a well-known economist, Ernie Tedeschi, who works for Evercore ISI. He was actually responding to a comment from JP Morgan. And by the way, this comment from JP Morgan was pointed out by Carl Quintela, who's been working with CNBC for over 20 years. And you'll see this chart on your screen right here from JP Morgan, which says, and this is JP Morgan's position, thus far we see little sign that the enhanced unemployment benefit expiration has marked a major turning point for the overall economy, as many other high frequency spending and activity indicators have continued rising into August. Now, see this chart on your screen. And so what JP Morgan is saying is that even though the $600 weekly federal unemployment benefit extension is gone, people are still spending money. And I want to know what you think about this. Do you think that the economy is indeed recovering? Because they're looking at parameters, they're looking at benchmarks which do indicate the economy is recovering. And I thought the response from Ernie Tedeschi was very telling. And Ernie said, the math, and you'll see his tweet on your screen right now. He said the math is the math. August is seeing $60 to $70 billion less in federal aid to the unemployed than July, because the $600 a week federal booster has ended. Right now, we're talking about $300 a week, which is being rolled out very slowly. At this point in time, at the time I'm recording this video, only 2 states, Arizona and Texas, have started paying out the $300 a week in unemployment benefit extensions. So as you can see, some states are going to take quite a while to pay out the $300 a week lost wages assistance program benefits to their residents. And so the JP Morgan chart basically indicated that, hey, people are spending even though the benefits have essentially stopped or died down. But according to Ernie Tedeschi, who's an economist who works with Evercore ISI, and we'll show you his tweet on the screen right here, he said, the math is the math. August is seeing $60 to $70 billion less in federal aid to the unemployed than July, because the unemployment benefit extension to $600 a week is essentially gone for millions of individuals. So he said, so if consumption is steady and employment is flat, then either A, families are dipping into savings, which is unsustainable, or B, this card data does not include UI debit cards. So he's talking about the UI debit cards, the unemployment insurance debit cards that are being funded with a lower amount of money because the $600 weekly enhanced federal booster expired at the end of July. He said that needs to be factored in. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this chart from JP Morgan, which basically indicates that consumer spending is high despite the fact that the $600 weekly unemployment booster is gone. Now, let's be clear. The number of individuals on unemployment insurance is indeed decreasing as more and more people are getting back into the workforce. That is a fact. But the fact that spending is continuing to increase is a very interesting trend from JP Morgan. And what Ernie Tedeschi pointed out is that families are probably dipping into their savings, probably in anticipation of the fact that they'll get their jobs back, that the economy will rebound. Again, this is what Ernie Tedeschi said. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think that your local economy, do you think your own personal reality is now improving despite the fact that the federal unemployment benefits have essentially dissipated, if you will? They're essentially gone throughout the country. Keep in mind that a lot of these economists talk about national trends. They talk about how things are going on nationally. Your reality is probably going to be a little different because you're talking about your specific city, your specific state, your specific region. And a lot of these economists focus on national trends. Let me know what you think in the description section below. Is the lapse of the $600 a week federal unemployment booster affecting you? My name is Dr. Nitin Choda. Thank you so much for watching. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video on our channel. I have the fortune, the honor, the privilege of living the American dream, and I want to help you live your American dream. So please make sure you click like, you subscribe, and you enable notifications so you get instant updates from our channel. Sometimes YouTube does not send out notifications. So what you may want to do is just bookmark our channel, which is youtube.com/ignition time. So make sure you bookmark that and check in on the channel once a day or a couple of times a day whenever you want. This way you can see all the new videos and you don't miss a single important update from the Ignition Time channel. Speaking of updates, we release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. So make sure you're subscribed to our channel. You can also get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and you'll get added to our SMS list going forward. You can also get added to our email list, and you can opt out of the SMS or email list at any time. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comment section below whether you think the lapse of the $600 a week federal unemployment booster is indeed hampering the economy, or do you feel, as for what JP Morgan says, people are continuing to spend again and things are getting back on track? I do want to know your opinion, because I think the information and insight we get in the comment section below is often more reliable than what we see in a lot of news outlets, specifically liberal or conservative news outlets. Let's let the data guide our decision making and guide our story. I also want to know what you think of this new targeted bill as opposed to the skinny bill from all of these GOP senators, and from these interesting, somewhat controversial comments from White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, because I can promise you that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to be firing back at these comments at some point in time in the next 24 hours. So let me know what you think about all of the things we discussed in this video: the current state of stimulus negotiations, the lapse of the $600 week unemployment boost, and whether it's affecting your local economy. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Nitin Chota. I'll see you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks. Bye.